You've been presenting Formula One and, of course, other motorsport to the American public, believe it or not, since the 1980s. So I want to ask you, how important is the Miami Grand Prix?
Well, I think the Miami Grand Prix is a real watershed for Formula One, not only here in America, but around the world. People tend to forget that Formula One has been here almost constantly since the first race in 1959 in Sebring, Florida. The next year, it moved all the way across the country to Riverside, California, same promoter, different location. But aside from the 7-year or so stint in Long Beach and a similar tenure in Detroit, and of course, 2 decades at Watkins Glen, Formula One has always been a bit fragile and fungible here in the United States. It comes and goes. We've had more sites for Grand Prix here in the United States than any other country in the world. A Formula One Grand Prix to be put on in the United States requires a private promoter or promoting organization. And those people here in our capitalist society need to make money. And in the era of Bernie Ecclestone, that was not the order of the day. Formula One made all the money and the promoter did not. But here in America, it's an entertainment property every way you look at it. And it also has to compete with our own homegrown series, NASCAR, IndyCar, drag racing, Saturday night or weeknight short tracks, whatever it might happen to be. So it's been tough for Formula One, but now with the Netflix show Drive to Survive entrancing, the Gen Z crowd from 18 to 25, it's exploded. It's a phenomenon, and now a tremendous amount of resources are being invested in Miami. And it'll be interesting to see how it works. They'll have a huge crowd this weekend, but of course, any promoter will tell you it's not the first year that counts. It's the second and the third years after everybody's come and taken the picture and bought the T-shirt and so forth. Will they buy a ticket for the following year? And that remains to be seen. Seeing this incredible new circuit that they built, it's like a money is no object kind of affair. It's just going to set a very high bar for everybody in the world who wants to host Formula One going forward. And that is another reason that this is a watershed event, in my view, for Formula One here in America.
People are saying Formula One has cracked the USA. Is that right? Or is it USA is cracking Formula One?
Well, let's say the USA is getting its arms around Formula One. I would put it that way. Formula One has wanted to crack the United States for a very long time. In keeping what I just said about the way Formula One goes around its business, it makes it difficult, but it's an expensive proposition. It can provide a great return. But as I say, it's moved around the country. It's been a bit nomadic, but now 400,000 people over 3 days in Austin, Texas. I'm sure Miami will be a huge crowd this weekend. Las Vegas coming on board next year, and it has had an unprecedented level of enthusiasm out there. More requests for reservations and hotel rooms than they've ever seen. And they host some very large events out in Las Vegas. It's phenomenal. And Vegas doesn't even have a date yet.
So what's needed for it really to set Formula One in the USA? What's the kind of magic ingredient that might still be missing?
Well, of course, the first thing you think of is a successful American team, and more importantly, an American driver, not just a driver or a team. A successful American driver would certainly help cut through all that noise on the sports entertainment front and really bring Formula One front and center here in the United States.
And is there a name that you've got your eye on?
With all the talk about Michael Andretti wanting to get a team off the ground, and I don't know for the life of me why a decision doesn't appear to have been made on that front yet. Michael is looking at the dashing young Colton Herta, who's in his very early 20s, just the right age target for a Formula One driver. He is fearless. He is phenomenally quick. I saw him when he was about 13 years old, racing against 17 and 18-year-olds and just wiping up the floor with them. But he lacks something that's really important, which is experience on all those racetracks in Europe and elsewhere in the world, and rubbing shoulders and wheels in race action with all of the other young drivers. So right now it looks like Colton, but there are some really fine young drivers coming up through what we call the road to Indy. They're looking at an Indianapolis or IndyCar career, but that could very easily change over to Formula One.